In the second quarter, basically, we grew the EBITDA by 10 million euros or 17% if you will compare to last year. And there was a combination of three main factors that impacted positively this EBITDA growth of 17%. On the first one, it was a volume growth, especially in our aluminum business, which is a European business. That was definitely a growth driver in the quarter. Secondly, we enjoy better zinc prices, which, as you know very well, is one of the main drivers of our earnings. We have a hedging policy, which we try to mitigate the impact of the volatility on the zinc price. But zinc price on average was better in the second quarter than both in the first quarter this year as well as in the second quarter of last year. And then finally, it was better overall operating costs. And here on the operating cost element, I think energy played a very significant role. We saw energy prices overall across all the portfolio of plants that we operate today significantly lower than the second quarter of last year and than the first quarter of this year. Well, it's always difficult to tell, no? I read reports and opinions of really knowledgeable people, and they don't agree on the conclusion. I think we are seeing the economy moving sideways. In any case, what I would say is that the U.S. economy is very strong and resilient, and the government will definitely stimulate the economy in case there is a clear risk of potential recession. In any case, if there is a technical recession, I don't see this is going to be a big recession. In our case, in what matters is for us the steel production, the steel output, which is the volume of steel that the economy is producing. And I can tell you, and I can confirm that the steel industry in the US is a very robust industry, and it's clearly a growing industry. And based on that, we are deploying capital and we are investing, refurbishing one of our most important and relevant steel dust recycling plants in Pennsylvania, which will be ready by the end of this year, the first stage, and throughout the second part of the next year on the second stage, to capture the growth that we are seeing in the steel industry. The US economy, the whole infrastructure plan, the whole stimulus of the government to fight against inflation is making that the public investments on infrastructure as well as the private sector is growing rapidly, and that means steel output, and that means good business opportunities for us. Well, Befesa hasn't got operations directly in these parts of the world. We are not operating in Russia or in Ukraine, and we are not operating in Israel or Gaza. So there is not a direct impact on our operations or on our customers. We haven't got customers in these markets. However, commodity prices in the world are typically impacted by global instability, okay? So any kind of war or global macroeconomic concern or geopolitical instability typically impact negatively the price of certain commodities. So the indirect impact that we are seeing from these wars are basically in Europe, energy prices were dislocated and energy prices increased significantly. In the case of natural gas, electricity, as well as coke, which are basically the three energy sources that we have in the company. And then more broadly, I think any global geopolitical instability typically impact also the price of metals in the case of zinc, okay? So there is not a direct impact, but there is some indirect impact that may affect our P&L. Well, we are clearly a circular economy company. This is what we have been doing for the last 30 years. We take a waste that is produced by the steel industry and by the aluminum industry, We have our own patented technology, and we are able to recover the valuable materials like zinc, aluminum, industrial salt, which we then reintroduce into the economy. That our business model is based on circular economy, and that has been the case for the last 30 years. So it's super important thing. We are a service company, and basically circular economy and countries promoting circular economy throughout the world is in our favor. Okay, we started our operations 30 years ago in Europe, and most recently we have expanded our operations in China 3, 4, 5 years ago. Okay, and the reason for that is that they have implemented a strong environmental regulation to foster the recycling versus the landfill. So in the end, it's fostering the circular economy concept. It takes a little bit of time for this market to adapt to the recycling business model, but over time, it will be a great opportunity. And for us, new markets will develop a new environmental regulation that will foster recycling. And as a consequence, it's clearly a tailwind for Befesa. And it has been in the past, and it will keep on continuing like that in the future. There is no question about it. Well, we recycle our waste and we recover the valuable materials. And out of these valuable materials, the most important one is zinc. Okay, and because we are a service company, we are not a mine. We don't like the volatility and the fluctuation on the price of metals and the price of zinc in this case. And that's why over the last 20 years we have implemented a hedging policy. That hedging policy hasn't changed over time, and it's very simple. It's basically we try to cover between 60 to 70% of the total volume of zinc that we sell on an annual basis. We typically hedge in euros, okay, and we don't provide any kind of collateral or margin call. So it's a very simple agreement between Befesa and a large financial institution like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Citi, Morgan Stanley, and we agree the volume and the price. So we have visibility for the next quarters, which is going to be the price on 70% of the volume. Today, we are fully hedged until the first quarter of 2026, and the price level at which we are hedged is all-time high level price for the company. This year, 2024, we are hedged at 2,500 euros per ton. Next year, we are hedged at 2,650 euros per ton. So there is a incremental in the hedging price of 150 euros per ton that will drive earnings and EBITDA next year of around 25 million euros. And we are continuing monitoring the market to roll over the hedges, okay? But this is basically the policy. 1 to 3 years, 70% of the volume. Well, we believe that we have left clearly the worst behind us, which happened last year in 2023. The second part of the year should be more similar to the second quarter rather than the first quarter, okay? Zinc prices are stabilizing between the $2,600 per ton and $2,900 per ton. Within that, with volatility, but within that bandwidth, which is much better compared to the average that we saw in the first quarter of 2,450, which was at the very bottom of the marginal cost of the producer. And this should definitely support the operations in the second half of the year. We also expect volume to continue to be strong in all the markets that we are operating today, with the exception of China, which is a more challenging market at the moment because China is going through a real estate crisis, which basically means that the level of steel output is decreasing, and therefore the volumes that we are getting from our customers is also lower. And also I would say that typically the fourth quarter, the last quarter of the year, is typically the stronger in the year. So based on all these factors, we are confident that the second part of the year will be better than the first half of the year. Definitely, in the second quarter presentation, which we held on the 25th of July, we basically narrowed the guidance range for the full year, and we expect a full year EBITDA to be between 205 to 235 million euros of EBITDA. In the first half, we delivered 103. So based on that, we expect the second half of the year to be stronger for the items that I mentioned to you earlier. So based on that, we confirm the outlook for the full year, definitely.